Hear that? That's the sound of sunshine, ocean breezes, margaritas, and voice actors learning how to run their business? Join us February 9th through 12th for Vocation Cancun, the only voiceover conference completely dedicated to the business of the voiceover business. You'll learn from top VO industry experts about subjects like negotiating great rates, working with agents and casting directors, direct marketing, home studios, business structure, and the business of dubbing, animation, promo, commercials, video games, and more. And the best part? The whole conference takes place at Moon Palace Cancun, a top-rated, all-inclusive resort in paradise. Yes, we said all-inclusive. That means food, drinks, entertainment, room service, nightly networking parties, and so much more. All included. Level up your VO business at Vocation Cancun. For more information and to book your tickets, go to vocationconference.com.
Welcome to In the Envelope, a podcast from Backstage, the one-stop shop for actors and creators both above and below the line. I am your host, Vinny Mancuso, Backstage Senior Editor and Professional Entertainment Obsessive. I'll be your guide through every corner of the creative industry with the help of some of your favorite stars. Here you'll find intimate, in-depth talks with today's most award-worthy names in film, television, and theater. Along the way, we'll get advice on living your best creative life, relatable stories of the highest highs and lowest lows, and maybe, just maybe, a rare peek in the envelope.
Working as an actor has really helped me in that way because I think I'm a little more introverted. I'd rather just hide. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to, or something. But I think it's helped me be more curious about other people. And then when you are curious and you learn that those people are just like me in some ways. So it's just taught me really about empathy.
Welcome to In the Envelope, the Actors Podcast. I am your host, Backstage Senior Editor Vinny Mancuso, and I am so very thrilled to be joined today by one of the coolest actors just ever, working today, working whenever, and that is, of course, Aubrey Plaza. What a year it has been for her, starting with, of course, Emily the Criminal, a gnarly little thriller about a woman who gets herself drawn deeper and deeper into a credit card scam ring. It is a very topical, very relatable film for anyone with mounting student debt. Shout out to most of us. But in a fair and just world, this performance would put Plaza right in the middle of the award season conversation. SAG, Oscars, all of it, time will tell. But she followed that up almost immediately with season 2 of Mike White's The White Lotus, a show you might recognize from winning almost every Emmy available early this year. Plaza, very unsurprisingly, is the standout of a stacked ensemble there as well. And literally this week, right after she spoke to us, she's headed into production on a little film called Megalopolis, which happens to be Francis Ford Coppola's first film in 11 years. And right, she's also joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Agatha, Coven of Chaos, alongside Kathryn Hahn, which Aubrey Plaza has never spoken about until now. You will want to stick around for that. So let's get right into it. Here is Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey, how's it going? How are you doing today?
Fine.
Good.
Great. Yeah.
I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. Before we start, I do have to say thank you for a large part of my career because I interviewed you in 2017 for the New York Observer, which doesn't barely exist anymore.
Okay.
And you took that interview and you put it on your Instagram and you said, I usually hate writing about me, but this one is actually kind of nice. And because of that, I got a lot of freelance work, and that's kind of why I'm here.
Shut up.
So I appreciate that.
What the fuck? I don't even. Okay. What did we talk about? What were we talking?
This was.
I had the worst person in the world.
No, totally. This was 2017. This was 5 years ago.
2017. What happened in 2017?
Legion was just coming out.
Legion.
I think it was like a month before the show came out, and you're also doing Little or
Inside the, was it Beverly Left Lynn? No.
no. I honestly could not tell you where we were.
Okay.
I know it was in Los Angeles, somewhere. And
Okay.
this was for the New York Observer. So I just want to say thank you for putting that for off your recommendation. I got a lot of work.
You're welcome. Man, yeah, you owe me your life. I don't
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
know.
I really appreciate that.
That's sweet. That's really sweet because I don't, yeah, that's great. Well, what's going on now? And now
Yeah, I
you're,
was gonna say, here we are.
and here we are.
Here we are to talk about a lot of things. Emily the Criminal, really astounding performance. The White Lotus, and then you have, as you mentioned, Megalopolis. All these things on your plate, and I cannot wait to talk about all of them. But I also want to talk about literally just before this, I googled you just to see if I could see one last thing, and I kind of pulled up your Criterion list, which
Oh,
I really really loved. And there's a great list, but there was a sentence that did stick out to me. It was about, of course, John Cassavetes and Gina Rollins, which a lot of representation on this list of your movies that you pick from Criterion. And you said both of those figures, influenced your understanding of acting in a lot of ways. And because we're such an acting focused podcast, I'm curious, in what ways these figures sort of, influenced how you see acting, what you think of it, things like that.
well, I mean, there's a feeling that I get when I watch Cassavetes movies, and especially with Jenna Rollins' performances, where it feels like it transcends like normal acting or normal like performance. Like there, it feels like it's not just like a job for them. It's like it feels like there's something like she's tapping into something that is about the role but also about her, and so then it feels, I don't know, it just feels so real that you just completely are taken by her performances because you just feel like you're watching a real person. And I think like there's also like a kind of a method of improv that I think he used to
Mm-hmm.
go for, which I think also kind of lends itself to this kind of almost documentary like feel in a lot of his things, which I love. And like I love scripts too, but I think there's just something so like refreshing about watching their stuff because you can just tell that they're digging deeper to another level like altogether. And I don't know, it's like painful, but I think there's something, I think acting can be like a cathartic process for some people, and it's not everybody's method or everybody's approach, but I really respect that kind of approach, and I love watching it because it just feels so raw, and it feels like you're just like watching someone like work some really crazy shit out or something for your benefit.
Yeah, I mean, I saw, putting a woman under the influence as your top pick, that kind of crystallized a lot of, your screen presence. I do feel like there's that sort of that, I don't know, like you mentioned, it just sort of feels like there's a connection there between what they're feeling, what they're doing, and what they're putting out there into the world. And that movie is an incredible movie. And I do think that, you just stating that Jenna Rollins is a large figure in your life kind of crystallizes something about you on screen.
Cool. I mean, yeah, I mean, I just think she's the fucking best. Like, I just think she's the coolest and the best and the good. And opening night is like, so I just love that movie so much. I also like, and I know it's like, you're not supposed to make movies about movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a rule that you learn in film school. Like, don't make movies about movies. But I don't know. I love movies about movies, and I love movies about plays because I think that's like, that's the world that I'm in. So I think I'm also just interested in that process. And I just love that they're married, or they were married, so
Mm-hmm.
and I think that there's something about that too, where you just, I don't know, you just feel like, okay, like there's just something like so raw about it where you're like, these people are really just fucking, they're artists, they're just artists. They're just doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, I mean, also like Elaine May on there, who I know is a gigantic influence and yeah,
I wish
she's
there were
just
more Elaine May. That Mikey and Nikki was the only Elaine May movie on Criterion. It's like weird. It was weird. It was hard to pick movies because there's so many directors that you're like, wait a minute, why is that movie not
yeah.
on Criterion? But
And why is Mikey and Nikki like the representation of
I don't
Elaine
know.
May? As
Like
great
I
as that
wouldn't
movie
pick,
is.
like I love that movie, but I wouldn't like. That's not like. But whatever. I
The
just need Elaine May. I just need Elaine
yeah,
May.
I guess that's a question for Criterion. But I am curious, like, you know, the art. I think everybody has these looming figures, these North Stars, the inspirations and stuff like that. Do these figures mean something differently to you as opposed to, like, you know, when you were just starting out, as opposed to now, where now you're, you know, you're right in the middle of a career and you know you're sort of on the inside of it. Do these sort of North Stars mean something differently to you now than they did when you first started?
That's a really good question. I mean, I guess the older I get and the more work that I've done, I have even more appreciation for what they've done. And so I guess it's only intensified my, my admiration for some of these people because it's like, I'm only 38, but I feel like I've seen a lot of shit now. And I've gone through a lot of different things as a producer and an actor. And so I don't know, Elaine May to me is like, I just can't believe the stuff that she accomplished and like how little people know about her, at least this younger generation. A lot of people don't even know who she is. And you have all these people talking about female directors and this wave of, you know, women in film and stuff. And it's like, she was directing movies, you know, she was doing that way, way, way long time ago. So I don't know. I guess I have even more admiration and respect for these people as I go on because I just see how tough this business is and and this world is. It's hard to keep your head above the water and keep making good stuff. You know.
Well, when they finally make the biopic, I do think you should be at the front of the line, which you've mentioned, and then, you know, teach this new generation about Elaine May.
I know. I'm always trying to use my press opportunities to get more work because there's something just sick in my brain. Work, work, work.
Well, speaking of, this has been kind of an incredible year. Just to jump into Emily the Criminal, which was such a big part of your year. You are both star and producer on this film, and, you know, I've read you speak about it and what got you into it. And the sort of constant is you really praising the script, you know, as something that sort of really drew you in. You have said stuff like, if the script is good, you can kind of not lose. Don't do the project if the script isn't good. So I'm curious when a script passes that test for you. You know, what is it about a piece of writing that you're like, oh, this is something I'm going to dedicate my time, money, effort on, as opposed to something where it doesn't quite pass that hurdle?
Yeah, I mean, that's like something that's very hard to articulate. It's an instinctual thing. I don't know what it is. I think it's just as simple as when you read something and you're completely transported into the story and it's good storytelling and you're not taken out of it until it's over. Like Emily the Criminal script, it has the same energy of the movie where it just barrels forward unapologetically. Things keep happening. It's not overwritten. It's very almost like there's just something really kind of like stripped down about it, but really, really, it just packs a punch like every moment, and it just flies by. So I think it's like, I saw the whole movie in my head. I don't know how to articulate it, but the same thing happened when I read all the movies that I've produced up until this point. It's Ingrid Goes West and Black Bear, same thing, where I read the scripts and I saw the whole thing, and I saw the whole thing in my head, and then I get all fired up about it, and then my whole like kind of trajectory from that moment forward is to try to make the movie that I saw in my head, or at least get it as close as I can to like that thing that I saw in my head. And I think that's just storytelling. And I think also the characters, I think in those movies, obviously, like if there's something that I'm reading that I feel I can relate to, then I think that's also like a really something that stands out for me when I read something where I feel like, oh, there's something about this character that I really, really can tap into there and I can make it feel truthful. I think like just things that feel truthful and things that aren't. But it's hard to articulate like what is a good script. You just know when you just know when you read something really good, I think.
There's absolutely a very just Emily the Criminal feels true. And I say that, I'm someone who actually moved from New Jersey to California, ton of student debt, lived in an apartment just like that, had no idea what to do.
Did you go to New York first?
Well, I grew up right down the train stops from New York. So I was like, oh, let's make a bigger change. And yeah, just found out that California is completely different. I did not become a, credit card scammer, but, watching Emily the Criminal, it didn't seem like the worst path in the world. But I am curious, you mentioned that trueness to the script and trying to make it into what you saw in your head. How does that different, in terms of the muscles you're flexing and the things you're doing between doing that as an actor, trying to interpret it something on the page as in a performance and trying to interpret something as a producer, are those kind of similar things, or are those two different skill sets that you found?
I think they're really different. I think I think there's just a part of me and a part of my brain and a part of something that makes me tick that really lends itself well to producing. And I think I've always just had that in me, like since I was in high school or something. I think it's very different than the acting thing. Although I feel, I don't know. I feel that movies and making movies is a almost spiritual process for me. And I can only describe it like the movie is kind of becomes its own kind of living, breathing organism. And you have to kind of nurture it and feed it and raise it and get it to the finish line. And so I think producing for me, it's all the practical kind of pragmatic kind of stuff, but there's a spiritual element to it that it does kind of connect to the acting process. And in some ways where it's about kind of bringing the right energy into the picture and bringing the right people into the loop to kind of like make, to raise this baby movie. And like, so I think that there's a lot of instinctual stuff that goes on with producing as well as acting, and as well, producing for me is also a lot about casting. For me, casting is so important. And that obviously is really connected with the acting part of it and the approach to playing the character, because I want to work with really good people, and I want to be able to I want to get people in there that are going to help me with my performance, and I want it to feel real. So I think there's definitely things that are connected with both of those things, but then of course there's like just the kind of business part of it or whatever and all the bullshit like that. But I think that on a deeper level there's a I think that there's just an approach, at least in my head, about movies that it feels like there's a soul to the process. And if you can remember that and kind of keep your eye on that, with all the decisions that you're making, sometimes that really helps the movie be better.
I was curious, and specifically about the casting element of it. I know that you were involved a lot with the casting of Emily the Criminal and these movies that you produced. Being on that side of it, being on the other side of the casting process, what has that taught you about yourself as an actor, if anything? What has seeing what that's like for other actors taught you about yourself as a performer?
I mean, it's definitely taught me that auditions suck for everybody. The audition process sucks for everybody. I hate it. I hate auditioning, and I hate being on the other end of it. I hate, like, nobody likes that process. It's just terrible. But I think that it definitely, being on the other side of the table and being kind of in charge of casting in some ways, like it reminds me how little control actors have, and you just are the part or you aren't, and you just don't have control over that. And I think that has helped me a little bit kind of relax, when I have to audition for something, because your brain as an actor, it's buzzing and you're going, what do they want? What do they want? What do they want? I'm going to give them what they want. I want to give them what they want and show them what they want, so they pick me. But it's really out of your hands before it even starts, because you just have no idea. And like, you could be so sure when you read a script, like, oh, I know exactly what this character should be or whatever. But the director or the producers, and like, they have a completely different idea of something in their mind. And people, there's so many interpretations of something you can read. So I think I think it's just about control. Like, I think I've learned I have no control over, what people want and what they think is right. And I think it's just, I feel that way about all the things that I audition for or that I'm casting, which is just that it's the part will decide who's the right person, and it's not about you didn't do a good enough job or whatever. You just are or you aren't, and like, and that and that's okay. It's just the movie will decide. The movie will decide who needs to be in the movie, and so I don't know.
It's not a personal failing
It's
if you
not
don't get a
personal.
role.
Yeah, it's not personal. It's just you just are or you aren't.
Yeah, I mean, we love to hear that. I mean, Backstage, as you know, we're all about the casting audition process, but it is nice to know, that it is nice to let people know that we understand that the casting process does kind of suck. Like, it's a brutal thing.
Dude, I've had so many brutal, and I have such a childish reaction to like being in positions where I feel like I'm being judged or or I've got to like dance around for somebody. And I a lot of times go into like self-destructive mode where I just blow it on purpose, or I don't know. It's like, I want to reject you before you reject me,
Yeah.
motherfucker. Like, I don't, so, but I feel like I've tried to turn that energy or that instinct into more of a Zen kind of approach of just like, you take me or leave me, your loss, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of the same mindset. It's just one is a little bit,
One's
more Zen. Yeah.
more subtle, right?
But I do really want to talk about the performance itself in Emily the Criminal, because it really is an astounding performance. It's a very, quiet internal performance. I do think something that's great about the movie is a lot of it is watching. It's sort of like that Breaking Bad type of thing where you're watching this person make decisions. And a lot of it from an acting perspective is micro decisions. It is not verbalized. It is not it's not something the character is saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. You're guiding us towards this downward spiral with your face and what you're doing. I'm curious how, as an actor, you keep those moments from becoming macro, how you keep it internalized, but still broadcast to the audience exactly what they need to know. Because that is what this movie is you're letting the audience know exactly what they need to know without saying it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's all in the editing. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, am I overdoing this? I don't know. I think I'm a thinker. Like, I think this is just something that has plagued me my whole life, which is that I think it's as simple as this. I have a lot of whites in my eyes. So my eyes are large. So for as long as I've known me, like, people can tell how I feel and I can't hide it or something. And I think that's why, like, there's a thing about me rolling my eyes, or I don't know what it is. It's like, I think I'm being subtle about something, and it's like, it's written all over your face. So that, I think, has worked very well in my favor. But I think in terms of the kind of my approach, like, I have very internalized kind of methods of kind of portraying a character, and I have a very clear kind of the journey that I want to go on, and I'm always kind of thinking about that, and I think this script was really fun because it is so much about these like tiny micro decisions, and that's what I love about it is as an actor is trying to like track all those like little tiny things. Like, I don't know. What was the question? I don't actually.
I mean, the question can basically become like, I don't ever want anybody here to like be like, oh, here's my step-by-step process to doing a character. But I'm curious, how you found your process. Is it something that, this has just been your instinct from the beginning, or have you, sort of tracked like, oh, this works, this doesn't, this works, this doesn't? Is it something that you develop gradually, or is this something that you have had from the beginning?
Well, I mean, I will say, I worked with an acting coach. I work with an acting coach called Ivana Chubbuck, and I've worked with her on every single thing I've ever done, starting with Funny People.
Oh, nice.
So the only movie I haven't worked on with her is Mystery Team, which was a very small, funny, ridiculous, like comedy indie film that was my first time in a movie. But then Funny People was after that, and I've worked with Ivana in everything, literally everything, my entire career. So I can't talk about the acting like process without bringing her up because, I subscribe to her method, and I won't say like it's like, she's texting me right now. She's like actually literally texting me right now.
She knows. Yeah.
She wants to know what's going on. She's like, I heard she's a fucking witch. But no, I also don't think, I'm not like a guru. Like I don't hold her as some kind of guru kind of figure in my life, but I really find her method effective for me. And I don't think it's the answer for everyone. I've met a lot of actors along the road that aren't into her approach. And that's fine. And sometimes I experiment with other different methods and approaches as well. So I don't think like, oh, she's got every single answer, but I really, really find her method effective. And it's all about personalizations, and it's all about there's a theme for me in a lot of the work that we do, which is about getting your power back. And there's a lot of the characters that I've played over the years have this underlying theme about getting your power back and kind of working through some kind of trauma, some kind of thing that has held you back that you need to expel. And there's something about that I love, because for me, acting it's a profession, it's a job, but it's more than that for me. It's my life, and I spend so much time working and that I need it to inform my life. And so for me, I love it. I love her process because it's helpful for me in my actual life too, where I learn things about myself and my life and my relationships and stuff like through the process, which I really love. And sometimes it can go down the wrong path, and I can go, okay, I gotta not go down go down the rabbit hole or something. But the positive sides of it are really great. And so I would say like that's one thing that I can literally point to and say that I read her book. It's called The Power of the Actor. It's all about kind of turning your pain, turning your problems into solutions, and using the characters, using the scenes to fight for yourself and win and get what you need. And I just think it's really helpful for movies, because people that watch movies, like a lot of times they can't articulate why they relate to the character or why they are rooting for the character, even if the character is despicable and doing kind of questionable things, which Emily the criminal, she's doing a lot of questionable things, but you're still rooting for her and you don't know why. And I think a lot of times it's because there is an underlying battle. There's a battle going on where she wants to win. She wants to get her power back. And I think just that's a universal thing for people. I think so many people feel that way. They feel powerless. So it feels really good for people to watch someone do that, because if you live vicariously through the character or something.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I just hearing you say that, I think about how there is this strange, not strange, but very noticeable overlap between Emily the criminal and your White Lotus character, which could not be any different, situation wise. They could not be further away. But I just feel like their brand of anger is very specifically generational. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the Emily the criminal, it's the whole student debt, just like trying to keep your head above water. With Harper and the White Lotus, it's also just a very specifically generational, like I feel like they'd be mad at the same people, basically, these two characters. And I'm curious, what's drawing you to those kind of roles? You've mentioned a little bit the sort of getting your power back, but specifically this very current, very specific brand of anger at things. What is the through line there for you?
I mean, I don't necessarily have kind of control over like all the roles that I play, because like the White Lotus Mike White really wrote that part for me. And I didn't, it wasn't a part that was written and then I went and auditioned for it and said, that's the part I want. He wrote it for me. So there's a lot of me in that part. And it's only been 2 episodes and everyone's like, this woman's like kind of an uptight bitch, but, which maybe I am, but you'll see as the show goes on, the layers start to come off, the vulnerability starts to show, and you realize like, oh, okay, there's a reason, why she's like this. And I think that part probably maybe more than any part I've played is really, really personal to me. So that's just kind of that's Mike White. He's a really good friend of mine, and I've known him for years, and I think he really tapped into something kind of unconsciously about me, and I don't know. I think that maybe there's a theme of being misunderstood, and playing characters that feel like the odd woman out, and I'm drawn to those characters. I think, on a really basic level, I grew up in Delaware. I didn't grow up in Hollywood. I didn't have a, direct line to the industry. I was like everybody else that grows up and watches movies and has dreams and fantasies about being an actor and being on the televisions. And I still can't believe that I'm actually doing that. So I think I just have I grew up in a really kind of normal way. Not, no one's really normal, but, so I think I just have, there's a relatability maybe to a lot of the characters that I am drawn to because they feel like the underdog, or they feel like just normal problems or something. And I do think like I'm drawn to characters and stories that feel relatable to now. And I think like Ingrid Goes West is a really good example. I feel like that movie was almost ahead of its time in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was hitting on a nerve. And Emily the Criminal, same thing, where it's just hitting on this nerve where you feel like this has something to say, but it's not preachy. And that's what I like about it, because I don't like this new kind of wave of just making movies for some kind of political messaging motivation. I think something like that happened a couple of years ago, where I felt like we can still make movies to just entertain people. Movies are supposed to be entertaining. They're not supposed to be hitting you over the head with some social political commentary. But I think when you have something that feels like a struggle that like a generation of people are dealing with, then it's like you hit the jackpot, because then all the people that are watching the movie are going to go, that's me. I understand that. So I'm drawn to that on unconscious level, but I wouldn't say I consciously go, okay, what movie can I do that really speaks to the whatever thing? But like, I just think those are the stories that are interesting because I think I relate to them.
It's interesting that, you say that among that answer, you sort of mentioned that nobody is truly normal. I don't know if I saw Mike White say it. I don't know if I saw you saying Mike White say it, but somewhere he said that he thought it would be interesting if you played a normal person or something like that, or you played a normie.
He said normie. He was like, I think he was like, LOL, wouldn't it be funny if you played a normie? I was like,
excuse me. Well, I'm curious, I'm actually kind of curious your perspective of that as an actor, whether that is possible, whether that's a thing that anyone can do. Even the most normal character has to have something. So I'm curious, is it even possible to play just a normal person, or is that not even a performance?
I know who's normal. No one's normal. No, I don't think anyone's normal. I think like there's a category of people that are, I think what he really meant is like, you're not playing someone with any obvious kind of, I don't even know what the word is, like any kind of, you're not playing someone that has like crippling mental illness or a rap sheet of, criminal record, or I don't know, just someone that's done something kind of like remarkable, or there's something remarkably kind of different about them. Like you're just playing like a lawyer, but like that to me, that's what's fun about playing Harper Spiller, is that it's like, sure, she's a lawyer. She's an employment lawyer in New York. She's quote unquote normal, but like, nobody's normal. And you'll see it. You'll see her, act out and do all the things that aren't normal. So no, I don't think there's a norm. I don't think there's like normies, but I think that's also like a weird kind of just commentary. There's a commentary there on just like the characters that I've played in the past or something where it's like, I'm not ashamed to say I played a lot of anti-heroes and kind of complicated characters, because honestly, those are the more interesting parts for me. And the more complicated the character is, the more challenging it is as an actor. It's more interesting for me to play someone like that.
That also reminds me of something else I saw you say in a recent interview, where you said something like, you don't judge the characters you play ever. And I'm curious if that's like kind of like what we were talking about before. Is that something you've always done? You were like, this is how I'm going to approach acting? Or is that something you had to learn from any particular experience, or something you had to learn along the way?
I think I learned that. in acting class, honestly. I can't remember what teacher. I don't know if it was, there's a famous, teacher. I don't know if it's Strasberg, Uta Hagen, or I don't know who said it first, but I remember really clearly learning that in an acting class, and learning that if you play a criminal or you play a murderer, you play a serial killer, you play someone that's doing something terrible, if you're the actor that's taking on that role, you can't judge your character. You have to find what's sympathetic about them, or you won't be able to play the character right. You won't do a good job because you can't judge your characters. So, and I learned that in class, I think, honestly, and I didn't really understand that until I was faced with characters that are like Legion was really interesting for me, because I become a super villain in that show. I murder people, I kill people with the flick of my wrist, but I had to always remember, that I was, Lenny inside, and I was being tortured by this demon, So I think that was something I learned, in an acting class.
Amazing. And I'm sorry to just be throwing your own quotes back at you, but I read a lot of interviews with you, and there's a lot of things you've said that I find very, very interesting. There's a recent, I don't even know where this is from, but you said something like, what's so fulfilling about being an actor is that you're exploring the human condition, which is something I hear from a lot of actors. And I'm curious, there's been enough of like we've been talking about, enough of a through line, enough of a theme through your characters, where I feel comfortable asking, well, what is the most significant thing you've learned about the human condition from the characters you've played, from your resume so far?
Well, I mean, I guess really, I think it's that we're all the same, I think it's empathy, or like learning kind of the importance of empathy about humans, because I think we're living in such a like polarizing time where it's so easy to judge people and to make assumptions about people, project things onto people. And I just think at the end of the day, we all started out the same way, and we're all the same. And it's just so important to have empathy, and it's important to put yourself in other people's shoes. And I get to do that as a job, so it's easy for me to say that. But I think that's something that I've really learned, is to have a curiosity about other people. And I try not to forget that, because it's easy to like forget that, to lose that curiosity and to just write people off. And I think acting and working as an actor has really helped me in that way, because I think I'm a little more introverted. Like I'd rather just hide. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to, or something. But I think it's helped me be more curious about other people. And then when you are curious and you learn that, well, those people are just like me in some ways. So I think it's just taught me really about empathy.
Incredible. I know we only have about 10 more minutes here. I am curious about the next stage of your career, because this has been such an incredible year. Emily the Criminal is really astounding performance. So far, White Lotus, really astounding. So I do want to talk about a little bit what's next. You mentioned, Megalopolis, something like I don't know if you're even allowed to say it, but like the Agatha Coven of Chaos. When we spoke about Legion, you said something like, you're less interested in the comic book aspect of it. You're more interested in the working with Noah Hawley aspect of it. So for these next couple of projects, what is the prime interest? What is the thing that like we were talking about before? What is the thing where you're like, oh, I want to spend my time doing this?
Well, I mean, for a really long time, I've been manifesting to work with a brilliant director, and I mean, who can be more brilliant than Francis Ford Coppola, one of the greatest living directors working today? I mean, that's what I've been saying and kind of complaining about for years. I just want to work with a brilliant director. Because it's really hard, it's really hard to get parts in movies where you're working with directors that have made a lot of films before. And I don't regret anything I've done. I love working with first-time directors. I'll never stop doing that. I love it so much. But just there's been a part of me for a while that's like, I really want to work with like a really, seasoned, director. And I would say Francis Ford Coppola, that guy's a little seasoned. But that was, I don't know how I ended up in his movie. I auditioned for him, and with no expectations to get the part, I was really just like, man, I just want to meet the guy, even if I have a 5-minute Zoom, that would be cool. That would be enough for me, because I just love his energy. I love his passion. So I'm lucky. I feel lucky and completely just honored and humbled to like be a part of Megalopolis. We start shooting this week, so TBD, like what's going to go down. But I mean, so far the rehearsal process and the process that I've been through is blowing my mind. It's just such a reminder that movies can be magical, I mean, this guy is really not operating in the Hollywood system at all, and he's making a giant movie. And so it's just so fucking amazing to just be around someone that has a passion for movies like me and feels the same way, that the process of making the movie is just as important as the end result. And I hope I do right by him. I'm nervous. And then Agatha, Coven of Chaos, this is the first interview that I've talked about this, because I think they just announced it.
I think it was the day that this was confirmed. It came out, and I was like, oh, cool. I guess I'll ask about that.
Yeah, I haven't talked about it yet. But I guess, I mean, well, first of all, I don't know. I'm not allowed to say anything because you know how those people are. But it's a fun character. I'll just say, speaking of manifestations, this is like, it's all coming together for me with this part. And I think working with Catherine Hahn, she's a friend of mine. I've known her for years. We've never really got, we shared a couple moments on screen in Parks and Recreation years ago, 10 years ago, but I've never gotten to work with her really. And I think she's one of the most incredible actresses that's working today. She's a friend of mine. She speaks my language. So, to be able to get on screen with her and go toe to toe with her is like, that's what's driving me. I think it's cool that it's Marvel and all that, but I'm really just interested to work with Catherine Hahn.
Yeah, Catherine Hahn is cooler than Marvel. That is true. Thank you so much for being here. This was incredible. Yeah. Before we let you go, there is something we ask some guests to do, this is something just called the Backstage 5, which is 5 quick questions. They can be rapid fire. First thing to come to mind. Okay. So starting with, what is one performance every actor should see and why?
Jenna Rollins, Woman Under the Influence. I mean, that's like the obvious one for me because she's just so good. I mean, you can't take her eyes off of her. She's insane in that movie.
Was it like the uppers, downers, inners, outers? Stuff that scene is incredible. I used to say that a lot.
Oh yeah.
With all the roles that you've played, what role shaped you the most as an actor? I don't know why we call this rapid fire. These are
That's
some
a
of these.
really hard question. I'm like,
Some of these are more
sorry,
intense.
Grandpa. That shaped me as an actor. Fuck you. How about um, I'll just say Ingrid Goes West. I don't know why. I just think there was something that happened on that movie that felt like, okay, like we're getting into some shit now.
Absolutely. Question number 3. Were you ever surprised at how the audience perceived one of your characters?
Yes, I'm surprised every fucking time because I can't tell you how I'm so sick of hearing how all my characters are the same. I don't know what it is. It's like there's something about me. It's like soon I'm going to get into the world of prosthetics and I'm going to start doing some Meryl Streep shit where I change my nose and I change my hair so people can just completely forget that it's me. But I'm always surprised that when I do something new that there's always that one person that goes, oh, there she goes doing the Aubrey Plaza thing again. And I want to go like, fuck you, dude. If you had all these characters lined up in a row next to each other, like then say that to me. But I can't change the voice. I can't change the sound of my voice. I mean, I've only got my own instrument to work with. But anyway, I sound bitter, but I'm not. But I am always surprised that people continuously use this deadpan kind of thing about some things that I've done because it just feels a little bit, I don't know, it feels a little reductive to me. But
Absolutely.
That's my journey, you know.
Absolutely. What do the best directors you've worked with have in common?
The best directors that I've worked with have in common is a respect for the crew and a collaborative approach. And I think I love working with directors that are not controlling and that treat everybody from the star of the movie to the craft services, assistant the same, and that understand that all of these people involved in the movie making production are important, and that all of that energy is important for the film. So that's the quality that I really, really like the most, and that I've found most successful is an open, collaborative, respectful approach.
Incredible. And question number 5, what's one mistake you've made in your career that you promised you would not make again?
Signing up for a movie where the script isn't fully there yet, where the script isn't good, where the script isn't great, where the script isn't undeniably great, because you fool yourself into thinking, yeah, the script is good, but later we'll be able to make it better, and it's just not true. You just don't have the time. So I'm not going to do that again.
Amazing. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, this was Emily the Criminal. Cannot recommend enough. White Lotus, very incredible. And can't wait to see what you do next. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks. I'm excited to repost our thing, just like I did.
I was going to say, and another thank you for my entire life. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for my life.
Thanks, as always, to our brilliant producer, Jamie Muffett, and to the whole team at Backstage. Samantha Sherlock, Mark Stinson, Caitlin Watkins, and of course, Casey Howe. Visit Backstage.com, and don't forget, you can subscribe to Backstage with code ENVELOPE at checkout for a free trial. 100% free, you simply cannot beat that. For more exclusive content, find us on Facebook and Twitter at In the Envelope, and subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Who should we interview next? Let us know. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time for another peek in the envelope.